Coach, your team had a heck of a year in 2016, 10-1 with a bowl victory. How do you feel about what your team accomplished?
We were happy for the young men, probably most happy for those 19 seniors and what they had accomplished. Dan, there's not many times in a football program where you go 1-9 as a freshman and get an opportunity to go 10-1, win a conference title, win a bowl game, win the Regions Cup and all that as a senior. So we were really, really excited for those 19 seniors. The young men, all of them, all 125 players on our roster, they took us on a really fun ride this past fall.
You've done an incredible job in your 3 seasons here. You took over a team that had 2 wins. You end up your first season with a 4-6 team, then a 6-4 team, then a 9-1 regular season. How have you been able to make such quick progress in your 3 years in charge?
Yeah, we went 4-6 our first season here in 2014. Followed that up with a 6-4 season in 2015, and then last year we went 10-1 in 2016. When people ask about the quick turnaround, you get to sit and thinking as a football coach, really not that quick a turnaround. You know, we come in here, we've been here 36 months, and when you're working day after day after day, you have an opportunity to improve on some things each day. And when you're improving a little bit each day, after 3 years, you should be pretty good.
This year, your team was able to do something that hasn't been done in over a decade at Frostburg State. You won the Regions Cup. What was the experience like of winning that for the first time in over a decade for FSU?
Yeah, we won the Regions Cup this past fall and beating Salisbury 21-17. Frostburg hadn't won the Regions Cup in several years, but for our coaching staff, going back to the last question, you know, we hadn't been here that long, so it doesn't seem like a long drought for us. The 3 Regions Cup games that we've had while we've been here have been very, very competitive. I expect them to be competitive the next several years that we play each other. It's always going to be a good game. When you're the 2 state schools and you're playing each other the last game of the season each year, it's always going to be competitive. One more time, we were really happy for the 19 seniors. Those 19 seniors had won the right to win that game and to leave here champions. Really, really excited as the head coach here, Dan. The thing that excited me the most about that game was we had finished up an undefeated slate at home. We went 6-0 at home this past fall.
You moved on to an ECAC bowl game. You took on St. John's Fisher. What do you think your team had to prove in beating St. John Fisher, and how do you think that helps develop your program moving forward?
We'd sit in here on Sunday following the Regions Cup game and watched ourselves not get selected for the NCAA playoffs, which for myself and our players was both disappointing and motivating. We sit and watched ourselves get left out of the dance. Dan, there was no doubt in our coaching staff's mind that we were going to show up on Saturday night in Philadelphia at Franklin Field and play very, very well. Them matching us up in a bowl game with a university that had beaten us 40-7 3 years earlier, and that was ranked 5 spots ahead of us in most all of the national polls. We had something to prove. The young men went out and played very, very hard for 60 minutes, and we wanted to show the country that we belonged in the playoffs, and we did.
How do you feel about what you've done in terms of bringing in recruits so far for the 2017 season?
We're excited about our 2017 recruiting class. We're almost finished. And going back and giving a recap of the entire thing, we brought in 7 mid-year transfers that we're really, really excited about. And those 7 young men haven't disappointed us thus far this semester. They've been really, really good in the classroom. They've been really good in study hall. They've been really good in the weight room. We'll see a little more about them a month from now when we open up spring practice. But our mid-year class, we think, is really, really good. And we're excited about them. Moving on to our 2017 freshman class, Dan, we're almost done. We're almost done. We're going to take a couple of more commitments, and then we'll have our entire class, finished up, and our coaching staff can start preparing for the spring season and the fall season. Then I don't want to speak too soon because, the jury will be out for a couple of years. We thought last year's recruiting class was the best in school history, and we think we've outdone that recruiting class this fall.
Let's take a look at the offense first for the upcoming season. What do you hope to see out of the 10 returning starters that you have on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, it's a really nice problem to sit here and talk about having 10 returning starters on offense from last year's team. We'll miss the senior, Austin Bonzel, that's departing and played a lot for us over the last 3 years, was a very good leader and always showed up with a great attitude. We'll miss having Austin around. But those 10 young men, we've got some improving to do. We need to be a little better on offense than we've been. We need to be a little better on offense than we were last year. And we expect those guys to get bigger, faster, and stronger this offseason. And we also expect those 10 young men, plus the guys that are going to join them in competing for positions this spring and in the fall, we expect them to show up with a hungry mentality and try to get a little better each day.
Which offensive players are you most excited to get a look at coming into spring ball?
Some of those, without naming any names, we had some young freshmen and sophomores that we've been really, really impressed with in practice and in our JV football games. There were a couple of times last fall where we were playing JV football games, and as a coaching staff, we just kind of looked at each other and were like, wow. Those young men are going to be good players in the future. This spring, we're going to start to see exactly how good they can be moving forward into the fall.
Let's move on to the defensive side of the football. You were a top-tier defensive team last year in the country. How does your team repeat that showing in 2017?
Yeah, in 2016, we were ranked top 10 in the country in several different categories. And the biggest one is we were number 1 in the country in tackles for loss, which is a big statistic when you think there's 250 teams, about 250 teams in NCAA Division III. But we were number 1 in the country in TFLs. And we returned 7 starters on defense also. We're going to miss the 4 departing seniors. Will Sewell, the defensive player of the year. Anytime you lose a defensive player of the year, you got it takes some doing to replace him. We'll miss J.R. Lowry playing the defensive tackle position. We're going to miss his play and his leadership. I am intent on keeping J.R. Lowry around in this football program for a while, so look for him on the sidelines in 2017. We're going to miss Lyle Fugate at the outside linebacker position. Lyle was always a tough young man for us and an effort kid. And then we're going to miss Matt Capozza at the safety position. And Matt did a nice job for us the last 3 seasons, especially the last 2 seasons at that free safety position. The 7 young men returning, we think they're really, really good football players. And then again, we've got some young men, freshmen and sophomores, that rising sophomores, rising juniors that are going to step in and join them. And it'll be a really, really competitive battle on defense. We have to stay hungry on defense to stay good.
Which of those players, those defensive players that are returning, are you most looking forward to getting a look at spring ball?
Yeah, Jordan Proctor, he missed last spring, with a shoulder injury, and he's back full go, and it'll be interesting to see how his offseason progresses. Dante Chenery, Josh Scales, that Josh Washington at the defensive back position, it'll be interesting to see how they progress. Vinny Persichetti played 7 or 8 games for us as a freshman last year at cornerback. His offseason progression, it'll be fun to watch because young men make their biggest jump from their freshman to their sophomore year, so that'll be an interesting one. And then, of course, everybody's got their eyes on Niles. Niles Scott's an All-American in 2 different publications last year at the end of the season. He is a pro prospect at this very moment, going into the 2007 season. How hard he works and the progress he's able to make, can he make a jump from his junior to his senior year? It'll be fun to watch.
Your team went 10-1 in 2016 with a bowl victory. What has to be done for your team to improve in 2017?
We have to stay hungry. We can't let entitlement and complacency creep into our football program. There has to be a sense of urgency with what we do going into the 2017 season. We're just like every other football program in the country right now. We have to get bigger, faster, and stronger this off season, and then we need to have a great spring football as far as development with fundamentals and skills going into the off season. And then we go back into summer break, and we've got to get bigger, faster, and stronger again, and then show up here, the second week in August this year, hungry. And talking about what has to, I don't think not one person on our coaching staff or one player in our football program is satisfied with where we are right now. We'd like to compete for another conference title, and we'd like to make the national playoffs.
Now this upcoming season, let's talk about your schedule for a minute. You start this year a little different. A Thursday night, home game, non-conference against Stevenson. What kind of excitement do you hope to see at Bobcats Stadium, kicking off the season with a Thursday night opener.
Yeah, I don't know how it gets any better than opening up. We open up Thursday night, August 31st at 7 p.m. at home. We'll be ranked top 25 in the country. Stevenson's going to be ranked top 25 in the country. It should be a great atmosphere here. I'm expecting President Nowacek, I'm expecting him to redo the fireworks display that he did last year for the home opener. No pressure there, Mr. President. But I'm expecting him to do that again. So the entire town will be here. Should be a great atmosphere between two teams that should be in the national playoffs next year.
That's your only non-conference game, Stevenson. Your other 8 games of the regular season, NJAC opponents. What do you think about the NJAC next year and your schedule as a whole?
Yeah, we play that Thursday night, and then 9 days later we play at home against TCNJ, College of New Jersey. And then after that, I can't really tell you how our schedule goes. I'm a football coach, and I try not to look any further than the next one. But I have looked at, because of scheduling reasons, I've looked at the first 2 games. I'll say this: the New Jersey Athletic Conference in football is one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in the country. It'll be competitive again in 2017. It is week in and week out the most competitive conference that I've ever been involved in. And if you ever show up and you're not prepared and not focused to play, you get exposed in this conference pretty quickly.
Let me throw you one more curveball, Coach. How do you define success for the Frostburg State football program in 2017?
Yeah, success for me is defined by everything we do off the field. I think the wins on Saturday are a byproduct of everything else that we do. When we first got here as a coaching staff, we were doing 1 volunteer activity per semester. We're now up to 4 volunteer activities per semester, giving back to the community, giving back to the town, giving back to the people in Allegheny County, Maryland. So success for me is what we do off the field. Success for me is these young men going to class and going to study hall and getting an education and preparing themselves for life at 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, and so on. Success with me has nothing to do with what we do on Saturdays. We work real hard Sunday through Friday, and then we just go out for 3 hours on Saturday and have fun.